Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Wimbledon Power Rankings number 2 is coming out. We're going to go through it. Of course, some really interesting matches going on. Two very interesting results on the men's side, of course. So we're going to go through the men's power rankings, and of course, the women's I'll do a separate video on. But Berrettini loves the grass, doesn't he? Back-to-back Queen's titles. Medvedev making his first grass court final, but Hubert Hurkacz just loves it. Loves the green stuff, doesn't he? He really does. So he managed to win straight sets as well. So two big wins for two big serving, good volleyers. And, I don't know. We'll see how that translates onto Wimbledon, but so far so good for those guys. So I'm going to bring up actually my current power rankings, then we'll go through it. I guess talk about it because I think there's definitely going to be some movement. And also, I want to say something because a lot of people were saying in the previous power rankings, how can you not have Nadal at 2? Everyone knows Nadal is my favorite player. And I think, and some people made some good points that, look, if Nadal and Berrettini were to play each other at Wimbledon, Nadal most likely would win, as in he would be the favorite, right? He has a better chance. He also has a better head-to-head against everyone else, etc. And I get that. I do. But I'm looking at it from a more current form point of view. And the issue is that Nadal hasn't played on grass at all. And he hasn't just not played on grass at all this year. He hasn't played on grass for a number of years. So the last time, of course, he competed was at Wimbledon 2019, made the semi-finals there. So, look, there's nothing to say that he can't potentially make a final, given that he'll probably be seeded number 2. But that's for the draw preview that I do, right? This is for, I'm looking at this solely at form, mainly focusing on current form and form over the last 24 to 48 months because, or 12 to 24 months, sorry, even because, of course, someone like Djokovic won Wimbledon last year. He has to be at number 1, right? I think it's quite tough to knock him off the top unless we put someone like a Berrettini at the top now because he's on Queens. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, her catch as well, doing really well. Alcaraz hasn't actually done anything on the grass, so I've gone off his clay court swing, really, and that's why he's there at 4. Nadal as well, similar. Like, obviously, had a really good Roland Garros, Australian Open, so that's why he's at 3, because so far this year, he's been great for, and we know he's an all-court player. So let's go through then. What I want to do is I'm going to go through the list. I guess we can talk about each player because there are some interesting results, right? Hubert Hurkacz is a very good player on grass. And a lot of you did say, how can you not have Hubert Hurkacz on your list? And I said, he's the next in. I'm pretty sure you guys know he's going to get in there. So it's just a question of where he's going to be on the list. But Djokovic at 1, does he stay there? Now, I actually think, given that he's not going to have any preparation going into Wimbledon, he's not going to play any grass court tennis. Now, I think Berrettini, I think we have to give him some props. Don't you think? I mean, look, realistically, Djokovic is the favourite. Nadal will be second favourite if he's fit. Berrettini will be behind those two. Like, I'm just being honest. That's how it's going to be, right? Berrettini has just won Stuttgart, beat Murray, Sonego, Otter, Albot. Okay. Murray was injured, fine, but still won. Now just beat Krajinovic, who, okay, albeit in his first ever grass court final, had never won a match on the grass court before Queens. So, massive surprise. But by the way, I saw himself and Berrettini live, so I watched the semi-finals of Queens. I'll probably do a separate video on my experience at Queens and share some pictures and videos. But yeah, I mean, he's a really good volleyer, Krajinovic. That's all. I'll give him that, that's for sure. And just a very solid all-round player. So I'm surprised he hasn't had more success on the grass in terms of, like, at least winning matches anyway. The fact that he never won a match until 30 years of age, right, and then managed to make a final is pretty surprising. But Berrettini beat him, Van der Zandschulp. Tommy Paul's been in great form, Kudla, and Dan Evans. I mean, Dan Evans is not an easy first round whatsoever. So, like, a pretty good run as well. Back-to-back Queen's titles. For me, I'm going to put him at number 1. And you might say, but he hasn't really beaten a huge amount of players. Now, in terms of, like, okay, well, he's beaten quite a few players, but how many top 10 players? Not many, if any. And I get that. But We have to go off current form, and that's the beauty of the power rankings. It's all to do with form going into the tournament, and I think realistically, he's going to be the most informed player. We've only got a week left until Wimbledon. Can anyone tell me a more informed player than Matteo Berrettini going into it? He was injured for a long period of time. Now he's just won back-to-back tournaments in back-to-back weeks on grass. So I think we have to say he's at number one. I'm happy to keep Djokovic at number two and Nadal at number three just because of the pedigree. And I think obviously Djokovic winning it last year, historical form is there. For Nadal as well, of course, we know he's going to be a threat. So I get, and also we have to cater into the fact that he's had a ridiculous year so far. So that is recent form. So fine. And it's such good recent form, I think it's hard to then look away from. So we can keep those guys at 2 and 3. Then we have to look into the other players. So Alcaraz, I think we have to drop him down. Same with Murray. Same with Cilic maybe as well. He made the semi-finals, but he lost to Krajinovic, which was, I have to say, so I watched that match, a very, very, very big surprise. And it was a little bit disappointing because he didn't play particularly well. Quite a few double faults. He was struggling with the windy conditions and just a little bit haphazard. Like, it was almost like the Cilic of the last few years, really. Just errors left, right, and centre. Yes, winners there as well, but just very error strewn. And look, he kind of managed to find a lot of form at Roland Garros, right? Made the semi-finals on a surface which honestly is probably his worst surface. So that was disappointing to see him play the way he did. But for me, Alcaraz has got a drop, so we'll think about who's at number 4. But I think at number 4, we really need to have a think of who's been informed, who's had a lot of good results. Now, Hurkacz is someone who I didn't even have in my rankings. And a lot of people will say, what the heck? How could you not do that? And now looking back at it, they would be right. Because at the end of the day, right, yes, he lost to Fucsovic in the round of 16 at Stuttgart, but at Halle, he won it. He won it beating Medvedev. And not only did he win it, he won it beating Kyrgios, right, who's been in great grass court form. 2 tiebreakers there. And Kyrgios taking the first set as well. So that was a really tight one. 2 tiebreakers against Felix Auger-Aliassime. Beat Ugo Omba, who loves the grass. Maxime Cressy beat him in 3 sets. So, look, I mean, that's a really, really, really good few people to beat. And I have to say, that's almost good enough to win at least, not just a 500, but a Masters 1000 tournament, the type of people he's faced. So, that's a really, really impressive run for me. I have to say. So, yeah, I mean, I almost feel like he probably should be at 4. But I'm just thinking about if there's anyone else I should be bearing in mind because I feel like I'm getting a bit happy over 1 win. But, I mean, in terms of form, he's definitely there. But then we have to cater in, I think, other form. I think Kyrgios will be moving up as well because Kyrgios has made, like, a lot of quarterfinals and finals as of late. Made Halle semi-final, of course, lost to Hurkacz. And, look, he takes one of those tiebreakers. He wins because he took the first set. Just didn't manage to get it done, but he had beaten Altmaier, Tsitsipas, and Krena Buster. Stuttgart made semi-finals, lost to Murray. Houston, lost to Apelka. Like, he's a good player on grass, and he's going to play in Mallorca as well. Let's see how he gets on. But I tell you what, he is a very, very, very good grass court player. At 4, I'm kind of mulling over. You know what? I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Should we put Hurkacz there? Let's put Hurkacz there. I think Hurkacz has to be there. Now, obviously, I'm not going to include Medvedev or Rublev because they're not going to be playing at Wimbledon. Now, that's a shame because they would have, Medvedev especially would have been in here because he's made a couple of grass court finals, right? Yes, lost both of them, and one of them wasn't a particularly highly ranked tournament, but it doesn't matter. Like, he still managed to find some form on the grass. Now, Andy Murray at 5 is too high, I think. I think we're going to have to start moving some people up. I think Kyrgios should be at 5. That seems really, really high probably for you guys. But again, we're not talking about it from who's going to beat who. A lot of people were saying in the chat, and I get it, like Felix would beat Nick. Probably, yeah. Like, he beat him at Wimbledon last year, although Nick was very fatigued, I think, and obviously hadn't played a lot of tennis. Going into Wimbledon this year, he's a different prospect. He's played a lot of tennis in the grass court swing going into Wimbledon, and realistically, he's going to be in better form, better shape. If Felix was to play him now, Felix is definitely improved, but it'll be a different Nick as well. So Kyrgios at 5 for me, definitely. Cilic at 6. I think Cilic at 6 is. I'm trying to think whether he warrants it. I think he probably does. He probably does. I mean, he made the semi-finals. I think, yes, he lost to someone who he shouldn't have lost to, and I get that. But at the end of the day, he still made a semi-final, right? It's quite tough to then look away from that. And on top of also his grass court form, I mean, he's only played one grass court tournament, which is Queens, and beat Rusevori, Brody, Bublik. I mean, it's a good little run, to be fair. Krajinovic should be winning that, but it is what it is. Felix, I think, happy for him to stay at 7 because he lost in the quarters to Hakac in 2 tiebreakers. You can lose to anyone in 2 tiebreakers. He'll be disappointed to lose that as well because he would have been fancying his chances, I think, for the rest of the tournament. Kyrgios. So Kyrgios was at 8, so we moved him up to 5. Shapovalov we're going to take out as well, by the way, because, yeah, he shouldn't be in there. Now, who are in there? Because there's not many people really to look at. Because of course, someone like Medvedev isn't in there. So then we kind of look towards Queens and say, well, who performed really well at Queens? Now, Krajinovic did, right? Now, Tsitsipas, of course, lost to Kyrgios. I'm happy to keep him at 10 because I think he's got a bit of form, just generally. But Krajinovic, I mean, Krajinovic beat Cilic. He beat Peniston, who was in really good form. The Brit. Really, really good form, to be fair. Also beat Sam Querrey, which is a great win, to be fair. Sam Querrey loves the grass. Yes, okay, not anywhere near the kind of like form that he once was. Still a very good win. So I am actually going to go with. I'm going to go with Krajinovic. I think we have to give him a bit of props. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him here at 9 because the crazy thing to do, right? Is he the 9th favorite for Wimbledon? No, he's not. Let's be honest. But again, we're looking at it from a form perspective. So Krajinovic has to be there. The one thing I'll say for him as well is that he doesn't have the biggest serve, but he hits his spots. He's a very, very good player at being able to pass people at the net. His volleys are really good. I don't think there was one volley that he didn't either put away or won the point from. So that was really impressive to me. Now, Ryan Peniston, I think we have to give him a shout out. Of course, he's not going to be in my power rankings just because I have to look at it from a whole year perspective and also the current tournaments. Krajinovic has got he's top 30 player, I think, or 35. So I can see that Ryan Peniston is kind of way off that. Is he going to be a threat at Wimbledon? Probably not. Could he make the second week? I think it'll be a push, but it could potentially happen, and it depends on his draw. But we can look into that. But at the moment, probably not the case. Van der Zandschulp obviously lost in the. He lost as well, right, in the semi-finals. But he's a good player. I have to say, he's very, very solid. And actually, against Berrettini, he looked quite good in the sense that he does really well to recover. I think generally he actually, for me anyway, he is someone who is a little bit underrated. And look at the people he beat. Jub, Dimitrov, David Fekina. I mean, I think we have to give him some props. So I think I'm going to put him here at number 8. Now, you might be saying, why do you put him at 8 rather than Krajinovic? Because Krajinovic made the final. But look at who Van der Zandschulp beat. David Fekina and Dimitrov. I mean, Dimitrov is definitely a threat on the grass. He definitely is. So that's my 10. I'll go through it in a second as well, just to confirm for those people watching or listening on a podcast platform. But yeah, remember as well to hit that like button, please, if you haven't done so already, if you're watching on YouTube, and do subscribe if you're new. But yeah, Krajinovic, good backhand slice as well. Van der Zandschulp, decent backhand slice, big enough server, hits his spots, pretty good at the net as well. Very solid forehand cross, really, really good. Manages to kind of find angles on the back foot on the forehand cross, and great passer at times as well. Volleys can be better, but generally good all-court player. And for Tsitsipas against Kyrgios, some big areas of improvement. The backhand block return, big thing that he needs to work on. for sure. But it's mainly the returning aspect of his game and also transitioning to the net at the right times. I think Kyrgios was just way too strong in terms of his serve, and not just serve, but then his kind of just all-round game. I think he out-returned and out-served him, and if that happens, it's very, very tough because, yes, he hit a lot of aces, Tsitsipas, but Kyrgios' serve stats sometimes are a little bit misleading because you look at it and think, oh, he's not that big a server, but he is. What it is that he serves huge, and a lot of the times what he does is he takes a little bit of pace off, comes to the net, finishes off of the net. He's just a very clever server, and sometimes it'll be an ace, sometimes it'll be unreturnable, sometimes he'll win on the 1+ shot because the serve's just that good, right? And it's got a lot of spin on it, and yes, you might get a racket on it, but you can't get a decent return back into play. So I'm very interested to see how he does in Mallorca. For the others, though, I think there may not be too many movers now going into Wimbledon, but that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of this list now. Because if there's anyone that you think should be on the list as well, let me know. I know that people were kind of shouting about her catch, and I can see why. Booted out Shapovalov. He lost in the first round. I mean, I saw him play doubles as well at Queens, and yeah, fine. Like, he's still got the weapons, of course, and he's still kind of a young player in kind of quotation marks coming through, but there's something about his mentality that I think needs to be improved. We'll see. We'll see how he gets on at Wimbledon. I know he does like Wimbledon. He did make the semi-finals last year, of course, but I'm not really holding my breath to see how well he does. He's lost pretty much, I think, every single first round match since beating Nadal, wasn't it, at Rome? So that kind of says a lot about what's gone on in terms of his mental state. So we'll see how he gets on. But yeah, not really promising. I've had another shop, of course, made the quarterfinals as well of Australia. So he's found some form, no doubt. We'll see. Right. Thank you very much, guys. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Let's go through my 10, though. So far, this is my power rankings as of today, which is 20th of June. 19th of June, actually recording this, but it'll be released for the 20th of June. Berrettini, Djokovic, Nadal, Hakac, Kyrgios, Cilic, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Van der Zandschulp, Krajinovic, and Tsitsipas. So that's my 10. Let me know what your power rankings would be as of today. So obviously it changes each week. So try and cater in this week's results, I guess, and let me know what your thoughts are and who do you agree with, who do you disagree with, what would you change and why. Of course, we'll be doing the women's version as well, so WTA version. I'll release that very soon as well, catering in, I guess, last week's results or this week's results. And on top of that, I'll also do a video as well on Berrettini's win of Queens and probably do one on Hakacz's win as well in Harder. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. I'll see you on the next video. Remember to that like button, subscribe if you're new, click join if you want to become a member. And if you're listening or watching on a podcast platform, remember to leave us a rating, follow us, subscribe, and of course, give us a share. Thank you so much, guys. See you later.